Back here at Charlottesville High School Stadium, Charlottesville Blues taking on the Annapolis Blues in each of their second matches of the USLW season. Annapolis in the light blue jerseys, Charlottesville in its white and dark blue sleeves. 2-1 corner disparity for Charlottesville early on here, only in the 11th minute. One chance, a shot on target by DeSmit for Annapolis was comfortably saved by Keely Thomas. But other than that, not too many high danger chances in the match so far. Apologies for some technical difficulties in the early going here, but we are back now. And Annapolis with the ball. Schultz in possession, passes it back to her defender. Holm tries to dispossess. Some good pressing by the Blues here. Holm continues and almost earns a throw, but it still goes Annapolis' way.
Last week, we really saw the Blues on the back foot defending for most of the game, but they are pressing a little bit higher today, hoping to control some possession and really get at the Annapolis Blues.
Absolutely. Richmond Ivy had the Blues pinned in for most of that match, but the Blues still did well to earn a draw, a tough draw in a rowdy environment on the road, one of the best attendances and rowdy environments you'll see in the USLW League, especially in this Chesapeake division. So good on them after losing both of their matchups with the Ivy last season. Throw in here going to Cook. Tries to play it, go wide along the side, but it's kicked out for another throw in. The game being played along the wings here so far, mostly not either team not really able to get too much possession so far. Thrown in will be put in by Holmate. Stavis tries to get there but not able to. Another deep ball in and another throw in. Annapolis Blues led by head coach Ashley Kennedy, and now this club's the women's team first season after coming from the MPSL, and in its only game so far this season, winning its inaugural game 3-2 against Virginia Beach after scoring all three of its goals before halftime and holding on for the win. A different proposition awaits them here against Charlottesville. Neither team looking to add the first loss of the season to the resume this early. Annapolis with a bit of possession here. But it's Williams able to get on the ball, the captain for the Blues, one of the four players that came over from Dorking Wanderers through head coach Nick Regan's establishment with the club and association. And now Cook trying to control, and it goes out wide to Delves. Delves in an advanced position. A good little touch there and able to play to Cook, and the referee does, no, he does not call a foul. And now Annapolis able to possess once again among the back line.
That was good play from the Blues, playing out from the back, working it between the lines, trying to get it up to the striker for some hold-up play. A little bit unlucky with the touch there.
Absolutely. And we see Delves, who is acting as this right back. She's played a lot of center mid and advanced positions, such as right wing, over in England as well. So she can kind of invert a little bit and get into these higher positions to help the attack when needed. She had a lot of responsibility on defense last week, though, so looking to get a little bit more active to help this team score its first goal of the season officially. Scored 2 in that win against Arlington, but it was a friendly. But looking to finally score its first goal here at home in front of its home crowd. Tarfouche here on the ball, playing over to Radke. But just a little bit too sloppy, and Annapolis able to get the ball back on a throw-in.
Thanks to our sponsor, the English Inn of Charlottesville. Whether you're visiting for the weekend,
so in here, DeSmit finding herself in a wide position, listed as a striker. And you can see the passing patterns here in the triangles for Annapolis.
Afternoon team like royalty. And here's a bonus for the Fox Den Blues fans, get an exclusive discount.
Some really good work there.
That's the English Inn of Charlottesville, supporting the
by
Blues.
Graziano on the ball in midfield, turning a couple of defenders around. But it's going to be another throw-in for Annapolis here.
Annapolis having a good spell of possession.
Smith on the ball here, tries to get across into her teammate Hagu, but nothing going there. Goes wide, and Keely Thomas will be able to take the goal kick. 16th minute here, early goings here at Charlottesville High School. Neither team really putting their stamp on this match thus far. And the Charlottesville will be looking to keep its foot on the gas, try and get its first official goal of the season, and take it to these Blues, who are traveling and did have to travel a decent way from Maryland after its opening week victory in USLW play. Radke here on the ball, being pressed by Hagu, but good to able to get it to Stavis. But now Annapolis able to retrieve the ball once again. A lot of this game being played on our near hand side, near the team benches. Not a lot of room to work with on these sidelines as well. It's a little bit tight and a little tricky to be able to get past these kind of deep blocks. Once again, it's Radke being pressed off the ball. She's had to do with a lot of backpedaling, kind of looking over her shoulder, and yet again, it's another Annapolis Blues throw-in. Hagu here trying to work down the line, but just a bit of a poor touch, and it's another goal kick for Keely Thomas. Hasn't really been asked to deal out of the back line too much, Thomas, and be a bit of a distributor, since the Blues have been kind of pressed into their own half a decent amount, especially in that Ivy game. So we'll see if she has some sort of contribution here tonight in terms of distributing the ball, playing out of the back, and how Nick Regan likes to see his team play out. Here now over to Martins, one of the other players, the winger, who can play either side from coming over from Dorking Wanderers. Played on the right-hand side against Ivy in her first start, and here once again, you can see her on the right-hand side, and there's a bit of a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 that is developing for Charlottesville. Some decent pressing by Turner there, but once again, good by Martin to get out of there. And almost for Annapolis, but Keely Thomas able to make the save. The attacker there for Annapolis tried to round Thomas to the left, but ultimately the shot was too low. That was Kelsey Smith, the left winger.
That was great play from Annapolis. They won the ball back and countered quickly. It was a great save from the goalkeeper.
Blues fans, our presenting sponsor today is Torchy's Tacos. If you're ready for some serious...
Radke once again to Harfouche, analyzing the field, seeing if she can find anyone available, but some really good pressing by Annapolis. That's the right center back, Phillips, stepping up so high there. You can see how the shape for Annapolis is ever changing just as well out of possession. Once again, it's Harfouche asked to be a bit of a distributor, break the lines a little bit, asking for Williams to kind of come up a little bit to help. And good on McGee to kind of juke her attacker there, trying to break out of possession. And here it's Cook playing back to Delves. Going back, and it's sprayed out wide to Sandra Martins. She's able to kind of take her defender on a little bit here, has a little bit of space. Delves trying to connect with her. Cook coming back from what looked like almost an offside position, a little bit deeper, as this kind of hold up number 9 play. Sandra Martins once again. Delves overlapping, plays in a cross, but it's easily cleared by the defender, and it'll be a Charlottesville throw-in. But some good connection there on the right-hand side after it's been a little bit clogged up on the left-hand side for Charlottesville. And you can see that duo of Delves and Martins kind of overlapping. That might be one way to break through this Annapolis defense that, even though they did win last week, did give up 2 goals and won by half, and then also held on for the 3-2 win, but eventually it did get a little bit tricky there as they only held on for a 3-2 win. Homie here on the left-hand side, acting as that kind of left mid, left winger in this 4-2-3-1, and earns another corner for the Charlottesville Blues. I believe I'm not mistaken, a 3-1 corner count for Charlottesville early on in this second half. We're approaching now into the 21st minute. See if they can get some good service here on this cross and corner. Ball played in here, and a Annapolis defender able to clear it. It looks like Hagu running here on the ball with a lot of space to work with, and it's Smith that she tried to spray to, but
Great coverage
Delves,
from Abby
yes,
Delves there.
absolutely. Delves getting back immediately, being very aware after that corner was sprayed out quickly, not allowing that counterattack to amount into anything for Annapolis. Radke once again with a bit of a heavy touch, but Harfouche able to just boot it down to midfield. And it is sprayed out wide for Holme here, trying to... And she does eventually outbody her defender, putting her under a little bit of pressure. Once again, a little bit congested here, but it is Stavis able to get through. Another foul call here by the referee. And it looks like it'll be a long free kick here for Charlottesville, the first of the afternoon for the Blues.
The delivery on that last corner kick was very good. If they continue to do that on these set pieces and corner kicks, they can definitely get a goal from one of these.
Absolutely. We'll see here what McGee, the center back, can do here on this delivery. Plays it in a little bit too much of an in-swinger. And Duffy able to deal with it for Annapolis, getting there ahead of any Charlottesville attackers that were trying to pounce on that ball, but just a couple yards too far out of anyone's reach. Duffy brings the ball down, coming out to way past her line, but does spray it out deep. And it's McGee able to deal with it. Delves now here on the right-hand side, trying to send in Martins. Has the pace for sure, but some great coverage by the Annapolis center back, Phillips.
The Blues' final ball has just not been quite up to the quality they need it to be right now. They've had a couple chances to slip it in behind and possibly get a goal-scoring opportunity, but the final play just hasn't been there.
We're about halfway through this first half here. It seems like we're going to get a hydration break, in the 24th minute now. Around 70 degrees here and sunny in Charlottesville.
As the players take a water break on the sidelines, it's time to remind you about Found Market. At Found Market, they
in this one, only halfway through this first half, the Charlottesville Blues looking to get its first goal of the season in front of its fans on what is a doubleheader night. The men's team will be playing at 7:30 as well, also against the Annapolis Blues men's side. The men's side for them have not played an official match yet and will be looking to get a little bit fresh. So the Blues here, the men's team, have played 2 games so far. A 0-0 draw against Northern Virginia, and a 1-0 win on the road against Christos. So still undefeated and looking to add to that with a first official result and win at home later tonight as well against Annapolis Blues. So be sure to stick and stay tuned here on Sports Engine for that live stream as well. But back to the women's team, Eli, who have you liked the most so far in terms of the Blues attacking prospects? Who has stood out to you so far? And, you know, it is a little bit choppy out there in terms of possession, but there have been some high-quality moments.
I think Sandra Martins has been really good. Whenever the Blues have played it down the right, they've had a little bit more space. It's been less congested, and she's really been able to get forward. I think if they can get one good ball into her, they can definitely create a couple chances.
Absolutely have to agree. It seems like the women who came over from England have really already made their place in this starting lineup throughout. Rachel Manley, as we also mentioned, who was in the team sheet last game at striker and then scored in the friendly, not on the team sheet today. We'll try to get more information on that when we can, potentially in some post-match interviews about her availability, injury. But regardless, Sandra Martin's here really putting in a shift once again after showing some promising signs against Richmond Ivy, but team as a whole in that away game against Richmond Ivy was just not able to possess the ball, so not too much that Martins could do in her situation there. Had to kind of commit defensively, put in a shift on that end. Here it's going to be Duffy for Annapolis with a goal kick coming out of the hydration break. Martin's battling with her defender for the second ball there. Delves gets to it, but it's a foul called on Martins for just putting in too bit of a rough of a shoulder there. Annapolis with the very deep free kick. One back in midfield by Graziano. And now Schultz coming in. Cook tries to challenge for that. Stavis coming up to it, wins the ball, gets it over to Martins. And she has a lot of space to work with in midfield, a lot of options. Delves running down the right-hand side. Just a bit of a too far of a ball, but Delves is able to get to it. And they're playing the 1-2 there, but a bit of a heavy touch on that pass from Martins, and Delves looks just a little bit exhausted, having to come all the way from that right back position. She's going to be asked to do a lot if they continue to try and work down that right-hand side, but
that was again
it has to be a little bit neater, Eli.
Yeah, that was again very promising play down the right-hand side between Martins and Delves. You can really see the Blues seeming to focus down that wing after the first 15 minutes when the left side was very congested.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like with Delves, just a little bit more creative.
Ooh, a loose touch.
Yes, Harfouche. The ball played back from Radke. I believe Harfouche wasn't able to deal with that in time, but Thomas aware enough to distribute it back to McGee. And now Delves, as you can see, in this advanced position, he's almost playing right wing in this situation. He's swapped positions with Martins in a sense. Now McGee having to deal with this ball on her right-hand side. The Annapolis attacker tries to get it through, but it does go out on the touchline, and it'll be a goal kick for Keely Thomas. Almost a very dangerous chance there with the striker also running into the middle of the box. Could have been an easy tap-in if that ball had stayed in. But for now, it remains 0-0.
A sloppy couple of minutes for the Blues right there. Almost gave a couple of chances away, but they escaped, luckily.
Yeah, it's been mostly that left-hand side for the Blues. Radke, as I was trying to get into, you've seen Delves be very creative, very calm on the ball. Radke, maybe not as much of a forward type of fullback, and hasn't been able to connect with Holme at the same time to kind of spring forward some attacks. So you can see that the Blues are looking to go to their right-hand side, but at some point Annapolis might figure that out and are singling out some players on this back line so that these balls from the back don't get distributed into those right-hand channels. Turner there with a bad giveaway. The Annapolis player tries to get through. It's Smith. Once again tries to round Thomas. Gets the ball back, plays it in. Appeals for handball, but nothing given. The shot goes, and it's off the crossbar. Keely Thomas wasn't able to get to that. But Hagu with the shot, not technically on target, but definitely troubling Thomas, and now it will go out for a corner kick. Definitely the most dangerous chance of the afternoon so far between either side.
Again, you can see the Blues creating their own problems, trying to play it out the back, and a bad pass, and the Annapolis capitalized right there, hit the crossbar, very close.
Absolutely. The height on that was troubling for Thomas, but just fortunately for Charlottesville, it went high enough that she wasn't technically beaten. And now this corner swung in, and it's in for Annapolis, but the referee seems to be signaling a foul. And it looked like it was Graziano who got on the end of that, but Keely Thomas was interfered with, and so it remains 0-0. A bit of a scary moment there for Charlottesville on the corner. But regardless, here, able to play out of the back. Play resumes, and here it's Williams trying to play out of the back, but turns it over once again, and Annapolis has been pressing very well, but a bit of some miscues on Charlottesville end as well, just some self-inflicted blows.
That was almost identical to the one they gave away earlier. Basically, the exact same
Absolutely.
pattern of play.
Yeah, so it was Turner right before that, what led to the corner kick, and there it was Williams. Crosses played in, but it goes over the net. You can see Thomas having some issues with these kind of high balls, kind of these 50-50 balls that look troubling with the height on them, but so far Charlottesville has managed to escape unscathed in this first half here. After having some good moments attacking, it's been now Charlottesville being pinned in by Annapolis for the past handful of minutes. Once again, Harfouche asked to be the creator over to Radke. Tries to play a long ball into Holme, but it's comfortably dealt with by Schultz. Radke trying to step up here. Phillips on the ball, the center back. A lot of these defenders for Annapolis getting in high forward position, so this formation definitely fluid enough. The midfielders dropping back sometimes. A lot of composed players on the ball here for this back line for Annapolis, and now here it's Corcoran in possession. Back over to Phillips on this right-hand side. Passing these triangles, and Turner tries to get to it, but it's another throw-in for Annapolis.
Annapolis looking really good the past couple of minutes, defending very well, and also, but also attacking at a very high rate, very high pressure.
Right there, it's Hagu beating her midfielder there. Ball gets sprayed back out to Schultz. Another throw in for Annapolis. It'll be Schultz to take. So it seems like the right-hand channels are really been the key for both sides in attack. Martin tries to play in a sneaky ball through, but just a bit of miscommunication there between her and Graziano. So it'll be another goal kick for Keely Thomas. We haven't really seen her boot the ball long. It's been a lot of playing out of the back. That seems to be a common theme, not only in the professional level, but in all levels now. Players are being required, especially these center backs, to be kind of all-tool players and start the attack from the first man in defense.
Once again, there you can see the Blues trying to play out the back and just giving the ball away.
Here is Martin for Annapolis. Tries a long shot, and it sneaks through for Annapolis. Beats Keely Thomas. Seemed like not that threatening, but able to get it through, and it's 1-0 for the visitors in only its second official game in USLW play, and they take the lead with about 12 minutes to go in this first half. Sarah Martin with the opening goal here in Charlottesville.
Yeah, the Blues give it away, trying to play out of the back, and it's a good finish to give Annapolis the lead.
So Charlottesville immediately having to issue some sort of response here before halftime. Let's see if they can get back into the swing of things, maybe work down those right-hand channels. But for Thomas, a bit of a frustrating moment for sure after a good save earlier in the opening minutes. And kind of the result of a lot of good pressing from Annapolis. But here's Ellie Cook with a long ball sprayed through. Played back out to Martins on the right-hand side. She tries a very long shot, but it goes just wide of the right post. And really not troubling Duffy too much. Maybe the sun was in her eyes a little bit there, but eventually not very threatening.
You can see the Blues there trying something a little bit different. Instead of playing out the back, taking the long approach, they play it direct, go fast, and they got a chance from it.
They definitely have the wingers and the pace to do that with Martins, with Holme. It seems like Ellie Cook is a bit of a more physical presence than Manley, and she can win those aerial duels, as we saw there. It created a bit of a scrum at the top of the box. And we'll see if head coach Nick Regan and his trainers seem to maybe adjust the tactics there as they go into the second half, but looking to come out of this half with just at least containing this deficit. But once again, it's Schultz attacking on that right-hand side, acting as that right wing back. And it's another corner here earned for the Annapolis Blues. An impressive start to this inaugural season in USLW play.
Blues fans, don't forget to fuel up at the concession stand and check out the merch table for all the Blues gear you need. Dress like the team, dress like their number one fan.
Played in by Martin. Thomas able to deal with it. And it'll be Harfouche at the edge of the box, but Martin gets back to it off her own corner kick. And it'll be played back out for Annapolis to kind of calm things down, but the Charlottesville pressing a little bit here, trying to get Phillips off the ball, but she's able to distribute it over to Garmy, the left back. Just a little bit more calm here in possession for Annapolis. And Graziano really, as well, just getting everywhere in this midfield, has played a lot centrally, but also here, as you can see, taking on a couple of defenders and springing out all the way to the right-hand side for Hagu.
I've been very impressed with Annapolis' defenders and midfielders. Their composure on the ball has been really outstanding so far.
Yeah, they've been, especially these kind of wingers, the wing backs as well, have been kind of fearless in terms of taking on their defenders and switching the ball, able to kind of catch Charlottesville out a little bit, and it earns yet another corner. The corner discrepancy really rising here in favor of Annapolis. The Blues, with about 8 minutes to go here in this first half of action, having to deal with yet another corner kick. And it'll be played in by Martin once again. It's a bit of a long one on the far post. Smith dealing with it after it gets sprayed out all the way to the left-hand side corner. She cuts in on her right foot. Delves tries to deal with it, and eventually he does get tapped back into Thomas's pass. So once again, escaping with just barely. No high danger chance. And once again, Harfouche on the ball, playing it over to Radke. And once again, that's kind of the trigger for this press for Annapolis. Once that kind of ball goes a little bit wide, and immediately the long balls after that Radke has to play are just kind of a bit of guesswork, and Annapolis able to possess the ball right away immediately. But a foul called here around midfield. Holme wins it after the challenge, and seems like it'll be McGee to take it once again. Let's see if she could do a bit of a better job distributing it here. Her first effort went just a little bit too far away from the oncoming attackers. Delves gets onto the end of that free kick. And that's Williams trying an effort from long range, but it was always curling wide of the left post. And not too much for Duffy to deal with. Still, I believe, 0 shots on target for Charlottesville in this first half. Meanwhile, Annapolis with 2. The one early dealt with by Thomas in the 8th minute after a shot by DeSmit, but then eventually a long-range effort from Martin that did find the back of the net just a handful of minutes ago, and it is still 1-0 Annapolis here in Charlottesville.
Yeah, we haven't seen Charlottesville been able to work the ball into the box and get some chances from closer range. They've really had to take some distance shots, which can be great if you score them, but they're definitely not as effective.
Trying to take a page out of Annapolis's book maybe with the goal that came, but it was Martin with a lot of time and space to really pick her corner, and it just sneaked by Thomas. It's been just a little bit more congested for Charlottesville when it comes to winning the ball high up towards the top of the box. And once again here, it's Radke trying to get the ball over to Stavis, but it's dispossessed once again. And Graziano able to work on the ball. She takes it to her left, cuts to her right, and looks to curl it. And she beats Thomas with an incredible long-range effort, and it's 2-0 to Annapolis with 5 minutes to go before halftime. And these long-range shots have really been troubling for Thomas, and Charlottesville has paid the price in this first half.
That was just a beautiful goal. They've triggered the press when Radke gets it out wide, win the ball back, and then it's just individual brilliance to finish that play off.
First, it was Martin from basically the center of the field, just a few yards from top of the box, but that was a really incredible effort by Graziano to take her defender on, cut back to her right, and just open up the space for that curler and pick their corner, and it's really hard to hit a ball better than that. Once again, Harfouche for Charlottesville having to pass it back to Thomas. Let's see if they can work down this right-hand side instead. It's been far more successful in terms of just retaining possession, being a little bit more dangerous, asking questions of this Annapolis defense. Harfouche steps up for that ball, but it's dispossessed once again, and it's played in for DeSmit. She's trying to take Radke on, but good by Radke to get back onto that and just force DeSmit a little bit wide for this Charlottesville defense to reset. Almost there. Once again, Graziano looking for the brace and a third for Annapolis after Harfouche tried to clear it, but it deflected off another Annapolis player. And it just seems like the energy levels are only rising for Annapolis. Meanwhile, Charlottesville looking to get into that halftime locker room, reassess things. Harfouche once again. Radke and the press is triggered there by Hagu. She's done a great job of her kind of zonal marking on this right-hand side, not only attacking, but making sure she's just on top of things, just putting in that pressure on some Charlottesville defenders who just seem a little bit too uncomfortable on the ball here, especially now that they are in a deficit and have to kind of build out of the back and put the front foot on, but it's just not going their way so far. Schultz able to get it to Hagu. She'll pass it back for Phillips. Hagu here on the ball once again, able to get past Williams. DeSmith trying to work around Radke. She gets it, tries to get in a ball to the close right-hand side, but Thomas very aware of that, not too threatening of a shot. But yet again, another shot on target for Annapolis. And Annapolis certainly bringing the energy in this first half despite being the away team. Here's a long ball sprayed in here by McGee. Ellie Cook able to win that, but not without a foul, I believe. Just a little bit too physical there from Cook. And it'll be a free kick for Annapolis.
Annapolis really dominating the play for the past 20, 25 minutes. They've just controlled every aspect of the game.
Blues fans, a reminder that the clock will stop at 45 minutes. The official time is
A minute and a half years ago in the first half as Annapolis takes another free kick from deep. We'll see how much added time we get in this first half. There was only that water break, which doesn't really contribute too much to the stoppage time. But other than that, haven't been too many stoppages in this game in terms of injuries or fouls. No cards handed out thus far between these two Blues sides. You can see in the far end of the stadium, the Bay Boys, a small traveling contingent, but nonetheless some supporters there. As the away team looking to head into halftime with a 2-0 lead. Garmy plays it over to Smith, who takes on Delves, beats her defender, but good covering there by McGee to at least not let that ball get into the box, and it'll be another corner kick for Annapolis with just under 30 seconds remaining before we get into potential added time in this first half.
If you're the Blues, you really want to not concede from this corner. At least get into halftime down to kind of regroup, maybe change a couple things and try to get back into the game starting in the second half.
Ball is swung in here. McGee does deal with it, and Holmate tries, but kind of touches that one. And it's sprayed back out to the Annapolis player, but Martins dispossesses that player off the ball, tries to play Cookin. She steps up, trying to hold off her defender, and it's back to Martins. Martins beats her player once again at midfield, assessing her options. A bit of a poor pass, but the ball bounces back to her after a poor touch. And it's just disjointed from Charlottesville, even in these moments of space and on a half counter. Annapolis just too physical. The spaces just aren't opening up for Charlottesville. Now it's Holme, though, winning the ball back, and just too wide of a ball there, trying to play in Cook.
Again, that final ball for Charlottesville just not being exactly where they need it.
We'll see how much added time there is. We are into the added time portion. Could be any second now that the referee blows his whistle. There is one there for a foul. Charlottesville will get the ball. And it looks like it'll be a long free kick taken quickly by McGee, trying to play in home. And Schultz able to deal with that for a throw-in now for Charlottesville in Annapolis's end. Throws back out to Radke. And it's Hagu really just dominating this matchup from all sides of things, whether that be in her own end, pressing for Annapolis. Harfouche asked to get back to this ball. She plays it out back to Thomas, who will surely play it wide to McGee, and she does to the right-hand side. Assessing her options, the press isn't as fully on. She plays it long, trying to get Delves there. And Williams gets a header on it, but Ellie Cook not on the same page there. And the referee blows his whistle for halftime, and it's a 2-0 lead for the Annapolis Blues in only its second match of the season. Meanwhile, the Charlottesville Blues, after that 0-0 result against Richmond Ivy, head into the half down 2-0. Nick Regan and his staff will look to reassess some things tactically and try to come back in the official home opener for the Charlottesville Blues women's team. For Camille Gu and Eli Bertoni, we'll catch you in about 15 to 20 minutes for the start of the second half. We'll see you there. Back for the second half of USLW action between Charlottesville Blues FC and Annapolis Blues FC here in sunny Charlottesville. Annapolis, the road team, leading 2-0, looking to get a second straight win on the season and hold on to this for Charlottesville, the home side, their first official home match here at Charlottesville High School Stadium, looking to erase this deficit and give the home fans something to cheer about. See if Nick Regan, the head coach for Charlottesville, makes any changes early on in the second half. Doesn't seem to be any to start the half, but we'll see if there's any formation change or any types of rotation. Annapolis with the ball here to start the second half. The pressing for Annapolis in that first half was absolutely just intoxicating. Eli, what did you like from them, and what else did you see that Charlottesville can build off and kind of change to counter that?
Yeah, as you said, the pressing was really good. Their composure, whenever they had possession as well, was very impressive. The two midfielders, Martin and Graziano, dominated the game as well as scoring 2 goals. If the Blues want to have any chance of getting back into this game, they're really going to have to contain those two.
Here, Delves fails to deal with it, but Thomas, right on the edge of her penalty area, able to get her hands on it with the attacker approaching for Annapolis. Now, once again, it'll be Charlottesville looking to play out of the back. As we mentioned, that Annapolis press just was so impressive against the Charlottesville side, and really the long balls were not an option because Annapolis was just able to repossess the ball so often. And it looks like Harfouche failing to deal with that one there, but once again, Thomas having to stay on her heels and getting to that one, and it just looks like Annapolis will be completely content to give up possession and count and press this Charlottesville side for another 45 minutes. It seems like that trend is going to continue here in the second half unless Charlottesville can tactically maneuver itself to kind of break out of these lines and find these types of line-breaking passes. Williams there, hounded by 2 Annapolis players, and it'll be a Charlottesville throw-in. McGee with the throw-in here down the right-hand side.
For your visitors, we've got Gabrielle Wisbeck coming in for number 5, Kelsey Smith. We've got number 13, Delaney DiMartino, coming in for number 2, Amanda Graziano. And we've got
Charlottesville here at the top of the box. Number 30, able to get the shot on target for Annapolis, but Thomas able to deal with that one. She had some trouble on those 2 goals from Annapolis that were far outside of the box and let those in just at the final moments. A couple of substitutions for each teams. We'll try to get those over to you when we can. For Charlottesville, we know that Barrett Callejo has come on for Charlottesville, and a couple of other substitutions as well for Annapolis, which we will get over to you shortly. Annapolis here with a bit of a spell of possession, playing out of the back. It's going to be on Charlottesville to repress and force the issue here to try and claw their way back into this game. But already you can see Annapolis finding far more easier routes in terms of breaking this press and playing through this midfield. Right there, Delves failing to clear it. Another half attempted clearance by the Charlottesville defender McGee, but once again it goes out wide, sprayed out wide to Annapolis, number 13. Number 13, one of the subs for Annapolis, that will be Delaney DiMartino on the left wing, replacing, I believe, Saba Hagu. Annapolis clearly not really looking to, just content with their lead. They're trying to add to it a little bit here. Yes, they'll let Charlottesville play off the back when they can, but in possession, they're clearly very much more direct. then Charlottesville and the Bay Boys for sure in the away contingent enjoying that to start this second half as it gets a little cooler here as we get into the evening hours here in Charlottesville. It'll cool down here ahead of the men's match at 7:30 as well against the Annapolis Blues.
Much like the first half, Annapolis is content to let the Blues have possession and trigger the press when one of the fullbacks gets it.
So here it's DiMartino on the left-hand side, forced to go back a little bit, but clearly comfortable with her back to goal. And certainly some fresh legs. Tries to play in that ball in behind for her center forward, but McGee able to clear it with her head. It's back to DiMartino. Martin here plays in a ball, but it goes just wide. And Hagu not able to get on the end of that one. It'll be another goal kick here for Keely Thomas. Still in this second half. We thought, we were discussing, me and you, Eli, if we would see a bit of some long balls because of just how poor Charlottesville has been playing out of the back, but clearly Harfouche is still being asked to be the main distributor. And now a long ball played in on the left-hand side over there. And it's picked up in midfield in possession for Charlottesville. Williams tries to send in a long ball, but it's cleared by Phillips. Stavis on the ball here, and it goes out for a throw-in now for Annapolis in its own half of the field. 6 minutes into the second half, and not too much possession for Charlottesville in Annapolis's half. And they are the ones that are asked to come back in this one and give something for these home fans. Otherwise, Annapolis will have an easy time closing out this match and holding on to this lead. And here it'll be a corner for Annapolis after another decent effort and run by DiMartino.
Good covering from Delves. They are able to get back in time, stop the counter.
Short played corner. DiMartino tries to swing it in, but the Smith gets on the end of it, tries to beat Delves, but it's cleared by Charlottesville into midfield. Cook trying to get back. She's been a very physical presence. Hasn't had too many touches, though. Usually the runners on the sides have not been able to kind of link up with her, despite her sometimes winning the ball in good areas. From there, it's been kind of just miscommunication. And once again, Annapolis from there able to repossess, but it'll be a throw in here after a bad touch by Garney for Annapolis.
When Charlottesville has decided to play the ball long, Annapolis's backline has done a great job of cutting them out and not really giving them any chances from that.
Absolutely. Besides Cook, who's been, as we noted, a physical presence, this Annapolis backline really stepping forward, clearing balls, whether that be aerially or just putting a shoulder in legally, of course, without warranting any fouls. But regardless, the physicality and the energy has just been there from minute one for Annapolis. And here they are trying to spring an attack. It's the Smith on the edge of the box. Plays in a great shot, and it's another curling ball that beats Thomas in her far right-hand corner. And it's 3-0 to Annapolis 8 minutes into the second half. And it is just not going well for Charlottesville here, despite some attempts at tactical changes. But yet again, another fantastic effort from outside the box. There's not much Thomas can do on these efforts.
The quality of goals for Annapolis has been really good. And it's another one, driving through the midfield, lays it off, and it's a great strike.
Just too much space to work with in these kind of half moments of counterattacks and just playing through the midfield. There's been too much space for whether that be the first two goals of the midfielders and here the number 9 to Smith for them to just bang the ball top corner, and it's been too easy. And it seems like the Blues have no response once again. It's McGee trying to play out from the back, sprays in a long ball, but the runner is not fully committed there. Cook just too late to recognize that one. And now it'll be Duffy trying to distribute out of the back.
Charlottesville having to press a lot more now, trying to get back into the game.
Gabriel
But-
Wisbeck, another substitution for Annapolis in midfield, seems to have replaced Martin, I believe, who's not out there, one of the goal scorers in the first half. So a little bit more of an experience in Martin, one of the older players on this Annapolis roster, in exchange for a bit more of youth. And Wisbeck seems to be just as comfortable kind of playing out of possession and turning her defenders inside out. Once again, Wisbeck with a decent attempt at a run down the left-hand side, but it'll go out for a Charlottesville throw-in. But nothing too much to worry about for this Annapolis side, now up 3-0 after yet another amazing strike from outside the box. And they're completely content to let Harfouche and Radke try and beat this press, but the key to a great press is the energy and the commitment to marking these spaces, whether the ball be sprayed out to different areas or switched to different sides, and Annapolis has certainly been on top of things all game. And the midfielders as well, with Williams, the captain, as one of those. Williams and Stavis just kind of in that first half as well, caught out in some bad areas and some heavy touches trying to drop in. And that's been another key for why Annapolis has won the ball back so much up high. Here it's DiMartino playing it back for her teammate Garmy. DiMartino on the ball once again in some space, able to assess the Smith, wins the ball, dropping in a little bit too. Both number 9s really doing well with the hold-up play, being physical presences. And here it's Hagu on the ball, taking on McGee. She tries to play in her shot, but just a little bit too wide, took herself too wide and fell down right before her shot. The ball was always rising and nothing for Thomas to deal with on that one. But I'm sure she had a little bit of a scare just because of how many times she's seen those types of runs from the Annapolis players and had to be alert, but no save required.
Again, Annapolis winning the ball in the midfield, driving towards the goal and getting the shot off.
And it really hasn't required too much effort. It's just been a little bit too easy to break through these lines. It's been one or two passes, link-ups for these midfielders. The Smith maybe dropping in a little bit to provide some hold-up play, and it's just been a little bit too simple. The passing hasn't, it hasn't been needed to be too clean for these players, and the midfield battle has certainly been won by Annapolis and from an energy perspective, from a marking perspective, and it's been just a lot of the game for Charlottesville has been just completely blocked out in that midfield. They've been having to play through the wide channels, but it just hasn't been going their way so far this afternoon. Yet again, another corner here, a throw in for Charlottesville on the far hand side near the traveling contingent Bay boys. Still searching for that first official goal of the season, the Charlottesville Blues women's side. After that 0-0 draw on the road to Richmond Ivy. A very impressive result considering Richmond Ivy's status in the Chesapeake Division and results especially against the Blues last year. But that same defensive commitment and prowess has not been there tonight for the Blues. Harfouche on the ball here. Annapolis clearly just waiting to see what options she chooses. And Turner on the ball here with her back to goal. Back to Harfouche. She has to put it back out wide to Thomas. And McGee once again. Annapolis pressing very well. Williams trapped by two players, but a great little touch there to beat the oncoming midfielder. But sprays on a ball and no one is there. It seems like It just isn't connecting there. And Sandra Martin's one of those players who came off at halftime. She's not out there on that wing, and she was one of the more lively players for the Blues in the first half, but not that same level of communication with the substitutions that were made.
Much like in the first half, whenever the Blues do get some sort of sight at a chance, the final ball, the quality of that ball has just not been up to the standard it needs to be.
And it certainly can be mentally difficult when a team is just allowing you to have the ball and it just hasn't been your day in terms of just the creation aspect of the game and trying to distribute the ball, and they're just completely comfortable with allowing Charlottesville to play out of the back. But here it's another ball one back by Annapolis. Turner wins it. Now it's Delves dropping in the midfield. She's been seen in a lot of wide areas when she was helping Martins in that first half, but also dropping into midfield, inverting a little bit. And really no wing coverage here for Charlottesville in that aspect. Once Delves drops in, the replacement there, Callejo, just hasn't picked up on that type of rotation. And here it'll be another substitution for Charlottesville. Stavis coming off for number 17, Phoebe Ryan, in midfield. So hopefully looking to add some fresh legs and energy in terms of trying to break out of this press and maybe a little bit more calmness on the ball. Callejo with the ball here on the right-hand side, having to put in a leg or two on a couple of tackles. Williams as well, trying to spin around her defender and eventually does get the ball back. But the channels are so tight, and once again, just sprays in a long ball, hopefully, and no one is there. Callejo is too deep, and just as well Cook trying to get into a wide position, but not really her area of expertise. And it's an Annapolis throw-in. We're now into about the 62nd minute, 63rd minute of this match between Charlottesville and Annapolis in USLW action. Slowly creeping to that full-time whistle. Annapolis looking to make it 2 wins for 2 to start life in the USLW after coming up from the NPSL. And it's now back-to-back games as well with 3 goals for Annapolis women's. Five of those coming in the first halves of these 2 combined games. So some early scoring, and we saw a little bit of a pushback from Virginia Beach in their first match, despite them getting the win. But the Blues, Charlottesville, for that matter, not able to, so far in the second half, really provide any bite. And still, I believe, no shots on target for Charlottesville throughout this match. It'll be a throw in here for Charlottesville. Delves once again getting into a high position. Callejo hasn't had too many touches, and she's been kind of substituted into an area of the pitch that has just been clogged up. Not the easiest situation to come into, especially when you are in such a deep deficit. Seems like Martin has remained out there, so it'll be Martin and also Will Wisbeck in midfield for Annapolis. But DeSmit also dropping into some really deep areas in central midfield. But here, Annapolis will, a bit of a rarity here, playing out of the back, just having the ball so deep in their own half. Not really as a result of Charlottesville possession or danger, but just trying to keep control of this game, not really give Charlottesville anything to work with. A bit of a rough collision there between, I believe, Harfouche and one of the Annapolis attackers, I believe Hagu. But Hagu able to brush it off. And now it's Delves on the ball for Charlottesville, trying to get it over to her counterpart, Phoebe Ryan, who just subbed in a couple of minutes ago. But once again, it goes back to Radke, and Charlottesville's midfielders just haven't had the time to turn forward on the ball and spring forward their attackers. It's been mostly hopeful long balls, and here it's Callejo on the right-hand side. Dropping in, tries to play in Cook. She tries to beat her defender. It's a great physical effort. She's one-on-one with the goalkeeper, but just a little too late. And Duffy gets to that before Cook can try and put a toe to it. And immediately playing through this midfield, look how much space Martin has to work with. And Annapolis continues to possess and win those kind of 50-50 challenges in midfield, even when the Blues back line kind of puts in a foot to spray the rebounds back into the midfield. Vidara here spraying it forward. Williams over to Callejo, but she's dispossessed physically. And once again, Vidar able to get the ball over to DiMartino. A long ball played in, but Harfouche is ahead of it in front of DeSmith, but a bit of a shaky touch there. And she just is content to let it go out for a throw-in for Annapolis.
Annapolis controlling the possession a lot more this half. They don't have to push for a goal. They're already 3-0 up. They can just slow the pace down, let the clock run.
Absolutely minimizing risk and just really not allowing Charlottesville to get comfortable even after the halftime intermission. And it seems like another substitution for Annapolis.
Entering the game, number 13, Delaney DiMartino, replacing number 17.
It'll be number 15, Stephanie Lathrop, replacing, I believe, number 7 or 17, DeSmith.
Entering the game, number 9, McKinley Heaven, replacing number 31, Salah Abu. And entering the game, number 3.
Also for Annapolis, number 9, McKinley Heaven, and number 12, Amanda Schaefer coming in for a couple other of Annapolis players. And just looking to not expend too much energy. The game is, I don't want to say out of hand, but the clock is creeping down towards the final whistle, and definitely able to make some subs and kind of keep players fresh, rotate a little bit ahead of what is sure to be a continuously busy schedule for Annapolis as they continue to continue this hot start to the season. And it seems like on the other end, Charlottesville's substitutions, whether that be from an attacking perspective or not, haven't really found their way into this game. It's a free kick from Martin for Annapolis. Thomas putting her body on the line, and it's sprayed out to the left-hand side with Radke able to run into some space, but she has to cut back. And now Turner is dispossessed, and Annapolis once again in high up the pitch, able to send numbers forward. And these passing patterns are just so much more connected. Annapolis coming down the right-hand side. Number 13, DiMartino tries to get a shot off, but it isn't there. It's blocked, I believe, by McGee, but then it's sprayed out, and it's Cook at midfield just waiting, but is taken off the ball by her defender. That was Phillips winning the ball back at midfield, and now it's Martin once again, able to just stay composed and keep sending these balls out wide to the right-hand side for the most part in the past couple of minutes.
Annapolis, much like the first half, just completely dominating the midfield, not giving Charlottesville the chance to really create anything at all.
A decent effort there by number 30, Sophie Thibault, but just always rising, and Thomas not having to really sweat that one. It looks like it'll be another hydration break here for this second half. So midway point of this second half, with the Annapolis Blues leading 3-0 on the evening against Charlottesville Blues FC. And it's going to take a really, really inspiring turnaround for the Blues to have any say in this game. At the very least, I'm sure Coach Nick Regan would love to see a far more composed effort in these final 20 or so minutes and try to get the first goal of the season on the board to build off these final 20 minutes for the next match up against Virginia Beach next weekend. Temperature is dropping here, though, as mentioned. So by the time of the men's game later tonight at 7:30 kick scheduled, we may not be getting hydration breaks, as it'll be into the low 60s, maybe mid 50s throughout the game, and so may not see that with the sun going down in the men's matchup against the Annapolis Blues. But just as well, be sure to stay tuned for that here on Sports Engine for the stream of that match, as the undefeated men's Charlottesville Blues with 1 win and a draw take on the Annapolis Blues men's side, which has yet to play an official USL2 game so far this season.
As they take the Blues, let's stop those stands and make some noise and charge up your Charlottesville Blues!
So, getting ready to restart here from the water break, and it'll be once again a very common sight this evening. Charlottesville trying to play out of the back. It'll be Thomas for Harfouche. Well, immediately she gets pressed, but a foul is called. A very late tackle there by the Annapolis attacker on Harfouche, and she seems to be in a bit of a pain staying down. It was a late tackle on her right ankle area, and she seems to be clutching at that a little bit, and now the referee is asking for the trainer to come on to assess that. So hoping for all the best for Carly Harfouche, the Lebanese center back who has actually appeared with first the under-20 team and made some appearances with the senior team, and so one of those high touted prospects for this Charlottesville Blues side with a bunch of young talent, whether that be locally or abroad. You could see both of these sides looking to use this opportunity as a bit of another halftime break, so to speak, or hydration break to discuss tactics. They just had their hydration break about 3 or 4 minutes ago, but regardless, Charlottesville obviously trying to build something off of this game in the final 20 minutes and find some sort of momentum to take into next weekend's matchup. It seems like Harfouche is going to be coming off here with the injury. It seemed to be on her right leg, but she's able to walk off primarily on her own accord, a little bit of help from the trainer, but it'll be Dylan Copeland, the defender, coming in for Carly Harfouche in the 29th minute of this second half action. So we'll see if she slots into that center back, that kind of left center back role that Harfouche was playing. Copeland started the friendly against Arlington. Seemed to be playing more of a wing back role, so we'll see how that she kind of slots into this back four and where she can kind of be most comfortable. And it seems like she'll be playing. Seems like this will be kind of a 3-back system at the moment. Delves is deep in midfield. She was acting as right back, but also obviously has the skills, as we mentioned, to play center mid or right wing. So it seems like a bit of a tactical switch for Nick Regan's side to try and just get a little bit more space in midfield and try and break through this press, because it's just been really tough going for this blue side. But it's one back here in midfield by Annapolis by Martin. Played back out to Reed. Now Wisbeck able to play it to Lathrop. Sprayed out to the left to DiMartino. She has a lot of space. Decides not to make the overlapping pass to Reed and gets a shot on target, but not one of those bending balls that we've seen for some of these goals for Annapolis. And Thomas able to deal with it. So about a handful of comfortable saves for Thomas, but at the same rate, some almost unstoppable strikes due to the height of some of these shots on those goals. And it's just been about Annapolis really picking those moments well to unleash those unstoppable shots. And that's really been the difference here tonight. They've been making the most of their opportunities for the most part. But here, it's an Annapolis attacker coming into the box, does not decide to shoot the shot. D-ball on the ball. McKinley Heaven was the one darting into that box. D-ball unleashes the shot. But once again, Thomas on top of things. It's taken her a little bit of time to get into the match in terms of, being better positioned for these types of shots, but at the same time, not as much whip on that ball out of D-ball.
Annapolis, once again, just really controlling the game for the past few minutes, or basically this entire second half, really.
Annapolis substitution entering the game, number 20, Carolyn Duffy, replacing number 1, Abigail Michaela. Duffy for Michaela.
So, seems like it'll be a goalkeeping change for Annapolis. Abigail Michaela coming in between the pipes for Duffy, who has put in a great shift, earning the clean sheet. We'll see if Michaela can continue that effort and, help Annapolis keep now what would be its first clean sheet of the season. The ball here spraying it over to the right-hand side. Heaven with some good footwork to bring Schaefer into the game on the right-hand side. And it'll be a great challenge there for now what will be a Charlottesville Blues throw-in in the far left-hand side of your screen.
With a convenient location right here in Charlottesville, Torchy's is serving up scratch-made flavor that scores every time.
Copeland getting into the action now after being substituted on for Harfouche. Playing as the right center back now. McGee was the right center back, but slots into the left to make room for Copeland. Once again, the pressing from Charlottesville is just too lethargic, not on top of things. They've seemed to be accepting this result as the minutes tick by, not really being able to get a foot onto many of these balls, and just second best to a lot of 50-50 challenges. DiMartino tried to take a couple of players on with Delves and Callejo, but ball goes out of play there, and Delves able to get the throw in. Ball played in there from the left-hand side. It was Heaven almost getting to that, but just too much pace on that, and it eventually goes out all the way towards that 20-yard line here on the spray-painted field for a Charlottesville throw-in, and now it's McGee trying to spray it out from the back, who once again doesn't connect with anyone. The second ball is won by a Charlottesville player, and a great cutting ball there. Delves in some space in midfield, tries to pick out Cook, but it just rolls behind her, not into her running path. And an easy clearance once again for this kind of makeshift now Annapolis Blues back line with a lot of substitutions made, but still keeping that cohesion among what now looks like a bit of a back three. On this right-hand side now, Schaefer tries an effort, but it goes far, far above the goal. And at this point, just really trying to get their own type of chemistry into this game and confidence as some of these reserves players get some important minutes for themselves to make an effort at potentially making their bid for a starting spot in the coming weeks. Callejo back to Copeland. Copeland tries to find Delves, but this overload on the right-hand side is just too much for the Blues to deal with. Delves once again for Williams. But it's Wisbak getting on the ball, playing it back to Vidar. Ten minutes to go here in the second half. We're in the 81st minute here at Charlottesville High School. Still 3-0 for the traveling Annapolis Blues against Charlottesville. And a rough challenge there. It'll earn Annapolis a free kick from a pretty dangerous spot, just a few yards out from the left-hand side of the box. And it'll be Martin to take. She had the opening goal of this match from just outside of the box, from center of the field. And this is a really well-placed area to take a free kick from. It'll be a 4-person wall for Charlottesville. And we'll see if she in-swings it. It looks like she's going to take this with her left. Could really go either way here. She has both options to choose from. Could surprise Thomas. And she chooses to just fully drive it, but it just rises a little bit too high, and Thomas never really had to make the save. Definitely feeling herself with that effort, Eli.
Yeah, she should have a lot of confidence after the performance she's put into this game.
Absolutely. As we noted, one of the older players on this Annapolis side, and Thomas with a bit of a shakeup in her own box, and McGee brings the attacking player down, but nothing given by the referee, deemed a clean tackle. And you could just see that it takes a lot of repetition and a lot of coordination when it comes to really being successful playing out of the back. There can be many times that a team is caught out and just looks downright, incapable of doing it, but we'll see how this Blues team progresses over the season, if they stick to these type of tactics or whether it becomes something that they do on a game-by-game basis against, certain opposition. Here it's McGee on the ball, looking to be in that Harfouche role from earlier as this left center back. Delves, once again, dropping in midfield, but once again, just maybe not the most pressure at the moment from Annapolis, but just these balls played in from midfield have just been kind of a lot of second guessing and not really scanning the field to assess where their teammates are from an attacking standpoint. And now a harsh foul there from the Blues, and Annapolis will pick up yet another free kick that they can look to swing in from deep and potentially add to this lead. It's now, at the moment, 6 goals in 2 games for this Annapolis Blues side, looking like one of the most dangerous attacks in the Chesapeake Division for the USLW League in just its second match now officially. And at the moment entering this match, Annapolis was technically first in the Chesapeake standings at points per match, winning its only match. Virginia Beach, one of the other top-seeded teams in the division, but Annapolis did well to dispatch of them. There'll be another free kick here by Martin, and almost getting on the end of that was number 15, Stephanie Lathrop, but eventually ruled offside after the other player for Annapolis got involved. And yet again, Charlottesville looked to play out of the back and get a late goal here with the final 5.5 minutes approaching before potential stoppage time, which could be yet again only, I think, another couple of minutes. We did have the couple of minutes gone through injury from Carly Harfouche, and so that could add some time, but at the moment, still 3-0 for the Annapolis Blues. Long ball there, sprayed in, but just a little bit too much on that one, and it'll be another goal kick for Keely Thomas to deal with. Looks like potentially another couple of substitutions looking to be made from Annapolis in the final minutes. I don't believe that the substitution has been made. It looks to me like there are 10 players out there for Annapolis. So at the moment, a bit of an injury stoppage in that sense. We'll see if anyone comes on.
It looks like Heaven came off after picking up that knock earlier. She got fouled over on the 30-yard line a little bit earlier.
Had a pretty decent stint in just a few short minutes there coming off the bench as that number 9, but not able to pad this lead for Annapolis. Looks like another free kick will be given from around midfield for Annapolis. And at this point, just passing it around the back, looking to close out this match. I think it's not too far-fetched to say this one is over, Eli, with just a few minutes remaining. Very low energy from Charlottesville in terms of the pressing, and still really no clear attacking phases in this second half. After going down 2-0, it was a very early goal in that second half to make it 3, and just there has not been a response from Charlottesville.
Yeah, Annapolis have just really dominated the game. Down to 10 men now due to an injury. You'd like to see Charlottesville perhaps try to get one just to get some confidence going into the next game, but it's hard to see that happening right now.
As we approach these final minutes, Eli, what would you say you would take away from this game as the biggest lesson the Blues need to take away from this game and learn?
Well,
as
if
right
they
there
want...
is sorry to interrupt you, Eli, as there was a last kind of ditch effort by the attacker, number 9 Cook, who's had a decent stint.
If they want to continue playing out from the back for the rest of the season, they definitely are going to have to work on that, perhaps. Maybe even try something different, working on long balls, but it's definitely been a rough game, and there are a lot of things that can be improved on.
Absolutely. Not a great showing in terms of this tactical adjustment. We really haven't seen the Blues be able to just possess the ball so much, and tactically with the opposition giving them the ball, but we see that now this could be something that opposing teams could use to their advantage when scouting the Blues, and unless the Blues kind of pick it up from a technical perspective and keep things more clean in terms of their passing sequences, it could get out of hand in other games, and that's what we've seen here tonight.
Very early on in the game, when Charlottesville was able to get the ball out to their wingers far up the pitch, they were able to create some chances. But since the first 10 minutes, we haven't really seen that at all.
Thibault on the ball here, able to spring in Wisbeck. Playing along this left-hand side to Lathrop, taking on Delves. And she does beat her, but still two more defenders to deal with. And Sinclair Hart able to distribute the ball over to the left-hand side to Radke. Radke once again sending in a long ball, but just over the heads of both Cook and her defender. Delves wins the ball back at midfield, and now we are now into stoppage time of the second time, and it'll be 4 minutes added, mostly due to, you'd have to assume that injury break for Harfouche, who was substituted off, seemed to walk off on her own accord, but not able to continue in this one. And so a bit of a disappointing night for sure for the Charlottesville Blues women's team, coming off the back of a very impressive 0-0 draw on the road to Richmond Ivy. And they will look to get back at it next week when they host once again here at Charlottesville High School Stadium, Virginia Beach. Martin here high up the field. Over to DiMartino. Easily keeping possession. Now it's Vidar. Martin once again to DiMartino along this left-hand side. And the substitute at left back, Lauren Reed, completely switches play over to Phillips.
Annapolis really just controlling possession now, letting the clock wind down.
Only a few minutes left in this one. And it looks like Annapolis will walk out of Charlottesville with its second straight victory to start life in USLW. With the sun now completely out of the view as we approach the second match of our doubleheader coming up here shortly. A 7:30 kick between the Charlottesville Blues men's team and the Annapolis Blues men's team.
All right, Blues fans, in these final minutes, let's cheer on your Charlottesville Blues. Get those stands rocking, get those feet stomping. Let's make some noise for your Charlottesville Blues.
Delves on the ball.
You can do louder than that. Let's cheer
Over to Williams.
on
Tries to get past her midfielder, but eventually goes out for a throw-in that Annapolis will be happy to take their time with. Wisbeck on the ball, pacing up, plays in her counterpart, Lathrop, down the left-hand side, taking on Copeland, who came in just about 10 minutes ago. And it's another strike there from DiMartino, but once again rising. And ever since taking that early lead in the second half, 3-0, there haven't been too many dangerous shots on target for Thomas to deal with. A lot of miss-hit balls, still from dangerous areas, but this lead certainly could have been larger for Annapolis. And there goes the full-time whistle. And Annapolis is loving the start to life in USLW. It's back-to-back victories and back-to-back victories with 3 goals to its name, this time at Charlottesville High School against the Charlottesville Blues. And they'll walk out of here with 6 points in 2 games. Meanwhile, the Blues, with now a draw and a loss to start this second season for this women's side. And as we mentioned, we'll play at home once again next Saturday against Virginia Beach United, one of the other top-seeded teams in this Chesapeake division. Not the result the Blues wanted tonight, but be sure to stick around for the continuation of tonight's doubleheader, where the Charlottesville Blues men's will take on the Annapolis Blues men's. For Eli Bertoni, I'm Camille Goot. Final result here at Charlottesville High School Stadium: Annapolis Blues 3, Charlottesville Blues 0.